Elena Martin was 17. Hannah Briggs was 18. They went up a marked California mountain trail for what was supposed to be a short hike and never came back. For days, their parents begged for answers as search crews flooded the mountain. People whispered. Strangers pointed fingers. Then, the trail went quiet. Weeks turned into months. The girls became another unfinished story. Until Christmas morning, a lone hiker stepped just off the path and noticed something buried beneath snow and pine needles that didn't belong there. What was found finally revealed where Elena and Hannah ended up, but left behind a far more disturbing question about what really happened on that mountain and why no one saw it coming. Before we go any further, if this is your first time here, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means the world and helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us until the end, and if this mystery moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and pass it along to a friend. The trail looked harmless that morning. That's the thing people forget. Wide gravel at the start, a wooden sign freshly painted, arrows pointing like promises, California sun filtering through tall pines, dust warming under boots. Nothing about it screamed danger. Elena Martin, 17, tugged her hoodie sleeves down over her hands while tying her laces tighter than necessary. A nervous habit. Hannah Briggs, 18, rolled her shoulders back, checking her phone signal one last time like it might suddenly improve out of pity. No service. She smirked anyway. We'll be fine, her body language said, even if the air felt thin. They weren't reckless kids. That's important. This wasn't rebellion or a runaway fantasy. It was a short hike. A marked California mountain trail people brought their dogs on. Families took selfies here. Old men argued about trail difficulty near the parking lot, shaking their heads like experts. A couple loading their trunk glanced at the girls. Too young to be alone up there, one muttered. They'll turn back before the ridge, the other replied, already distracted. Elena adjusted her backpack straps. Micro movements. A deep breath in, slow exhale out. Pine sap in the air, the sound of boots crunching gravel behind them as they stepped onto the path. The first mile passed easy. Sunlight spilled through branches in broken lines, birds hopping, wind brushing leaves together. Hannah laughed at something stupid on her phone before it went dark again. Elena kept checking trail markers, counting them like milestones. 1, 2, 3. They weren't in a rush. That's what makes this worse. By early afternoon, other hikers noticed them farther up the trail. A man with a camera. 2 women resting on a fallen log. Someone remembered the braid in Elena's hair, tied with a black elastic. Someone remembered Hannah's red windbreaker catching the light. Small memories. Loose details. The kind that feel useless until later. By sunset, their parents were pacing. Elena's mom checked the driveway again, fingers gripping her phone so hard her knuckles went pale. Hannah's dad kept opening the front door, staring into the dark like the girls might materialize out of guilt alone. Calls went unanswered. Straight to voicemail. Again. At first, it was denial. They probably stayed longer. The trail loops, right? They'll text any minute. By nightfall, that calm snapped. The sheriff's office took the report with practiced voices. Names spelled slowly. Ages repeated. 17. 18. Too young to vanish without noise. Search teams mobilized before dawn. Flashlights slicing through fog. Boots sinking into damp earth. Radios crackling with clipped updates. Helicopter blades chopped the morning quiet, echoing off the mountainside like a warning that came too late. By midday, people were talking. At the trailhead, 2 women whispered near a coffee thermos. Who lets their girls hike alone like that? I wouldn't. Not these days. Online, it got uglier. Comments piled up. Parenting questioned. Decisions dissected by strangers who'd never met Elena or Hannah. As if blame could replace answers. The search stretched on. Dogs sniffed backpacks, circled, doubled back. Volunteers fanned out, calling names into trees that didn't answer. Someone found a footprint. Another thought they heard movement uphill. Each small hope rose, then fell flat. By the 3rd day, the air changed. Parents weren't pacing anymore. They were sagging into chairs, faces hollow, eyes red and unfocused. Elena's mom clutched her daughter's jacket to her chest, breathing into the fabric like it could still carry warmth. Hannah's dad stood at the trail map, finger-tracing routes over and over, whispering numbers like prayers. News vans showed up. Cameras zoomed in on tears, on trembling hands, on grief that hadn't been processed yet. People gasped when updates came in, then sighed when nothing followed. By the end of the week, the mountain felt different. Quiet, in a heavy way, like it knew something and wasn't sharing. Search efforts slowed. Not officially, never officially. But fewer boots. Shorter days, radios quieter. The trail reopened in sections. Hikers returned, stepping over ground that had already been combed a dozen times. And somewhere between the trees, time began doing what it always does best. It erased urgency. Weeks passed, then slipped quietly into months. Not with a bang, more like a soft, cruel fade. The kind you don't notice until the silence feels permanent. The mountain changed first. Summer greens dulled. Needles browned. Dust thickened into packed earth where boots once scuffed frantic paths. Trail signs stayed put, polite and useless, pointing hikers onward as if nothing had happened here at all. Search operations didn't end. They thinned. Volunteers still came, but not in waves. A few at a time. Weekend warriors with good intentions and tired eyes. Dogs were brought back, again and again, circling familiar ground, noses twitching, handlers whispering encouragement that sounded more like pleading. Nothing stuck. Elena's parents stopped answering questions from reporters. They'd already said everything 100 times. What else was there? Hannah's family still showed up at the trailhead some mornings, standing near the map board, watching strangers head up the path their daughter never came back from. People noticed and talked. 2 hikers paused behind a tree line one afternoon, voices low. Still no sign? Nah. If they were up here, someone would have found something by now. Something. That word followed the case like a shadow. Something lost. Something missed. Something buried under time. Online, interest dropped. New stories replaced old ones. Elena and Hannah's photos slid down search results, buried under fresher tragedies. Candle emojis disappeared. Hashtags went quiet. Silence became routine. At home, grief got practical. Elena's mom folded laundry and froze when she reached a hoodie, still smelling faintly of pine soap. She pressed it to her face, inhaled, then folded it anyway. Hannah's dad went back to work, staring at spreadsheets without seeing numbers, coworkers speaking softly around him like grief was contagious. The trail reopened fully in early fall. Families hiked it again. Kids laughed. Dogs pulled at leashes. Couples posed for photos near scenic overlooks. Most never noticed the faded ribbons tied to branches just off-path, weathered reminders left by searchers who'd stopped coming. Occasionally, someone would find something small. A torn candy wrapper. A scuffed rock that looked disturbed. A scrap of fabric that turned out to be nothing. Each call brought the parents rushing back up the mountain, hearts hammering, only to leave with shoulders slumped lower than before. Hope became heavier than despair. At least despair stayed still. Winter crept in slow. First frost, then snow that fell light and curious, settling into footprints like it was studying them before erasing every trace. Trails narrowed. Sounds softened. The mountain didn't feel hostile, just closed. Like a door gently shut. Locals whispered more now. At a diner down the road, 2 men leaned over coffee. You think they wandered off? Or someone led them? No one finished those sentences. Christmas lights went up in town. Store windows glowed warm. Carols drifted through parking lots. Families gathered. Presents wrapped. Empty chairs set aside without comment. Elena would have turned 18. Hannah would have been 19. Birthdays passed with candles lit for no one. On Christmas Eve, snow fell heavier than it had all season. Thick, quiet flakes burying branches, smoothing everything into soft, deceptive calm. The mountain looked peaceful, innocent, like it had always been that way. Early the next morning, while families unwrapped gifts and coffee brewed, A lone hiker stepped onto the trail, not searching, just walking. Boots crunched through fresh snow. Breath puffed white. The forest was still, the kind of stillness that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. The hiker followed a familiar bend, then veered slightly off path to avoid a fallen limb. That's when something looked wrong. Not dramatic, not obvious, just off. A shape under the snow that didn't belong to the mountain. And for the first time in a year, the trail prepared to speak. The hiker didn't rush. That detail mattered later. He stood there a moment, breath slowing, eyes narrowing. Snow clung to his boots. The air smelled clean, sharp, almost sweet. He tilted his head, the way people do when something doesn't fit but hasn't alarmed them yet. Maybe gear? Maybe trash blown off trail? He stepped closer. Branches bent unnaturally over the spot, pressed down like they'd been arranged and then forgotten. A hand brushed snow aside, just enough to reveal fabric. Dark, synthetic. Not bark, not stone. A sleeping bag. The zipper was half buried, teeth dull with ice. The shape inside wasn't obvious at first. That was the worst part. No instant horror, just confusion. A pause where the mind tries to protect itself by inventing harmless explanations. He backed away, fingers shaking as he reached for his phone. No signal. He stared at the screen anyway, blinking hard, then turned and moved fast. Too fast now, back toward the trail. Authorities arrived within hours. Red and blue lights cut through the white morning. Radios murmured low and controlled. The area was sealed off with quiet efficiency. No sirens. No spectacle. Just professionals who already knew what this meant. When the call went out to the families, no one said much. They didn't have to. Elena's mother sank into the couch before the sentence finished. Hannah's father stood still, staring at the wall, nodding once like his body accepted the news before his mind could catch up. Back on the mountain, snow was brushed away carefully. Layer by layer. Time reversed, gently. Inside the sleeping bag, answers came, but not the kind anyone wanted. The discovery explained where. It did not explain why. No clear struggle, no clear trail. Just the quiet implication that the girls had been there long enough for winter to arrive and stay. Investigators spoke in careful terms. Exposure. Disorientation. Possibilities stacked on possibilities. None solid enough to hold. News spread fast this time. People gasped. Literally. Hands flew to mouths. Phones dropped. Comments flooded back online, louder and guiltier now. How did no one find them sooner? They were so close. This shouldn't happen. At the trailhead, flowers appeared again. Candles. Photos laminated against snowmelt. Strangers stood shoulder to shoulder in silence, eyes fixed on trees that suddenly looked less friendly. Some hikers refused to step past the marker where the path bent. Others walked on quickly, heads down, as if speed could erase unease. The mountain didn't change. It didn't apologize. It didn't explain itself. Wind moved through branches the same way it always had. Snow melted slowly, revealing earth that had held its secret for a year without complaint. Elena and Hannah were finally brought home, not with celebration, with quiet, with a heaviness that settled into the town and never quite lifted. Their names were etched into memory now, not as girls who went hiking, but as a reminder of how easily time can slip, how quickly urgency fades, and how patient the wilderness can be. Even today, hikers swear the trail feels different near that bend. Like the air tightens just a little, like the forest is holding its breath. And maybe it is, because some places don't forget. They just wait. If this story shook you, don't look away. Subscribe for more real-life mysteries that refuse to fade, and comment below. Do you think the mountain hid the truth, or was it something else entirely? Would you like me to summarize the key points of the mystery presented in this script?